but I want to get into the 49ers for a second. They host the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday, 125. And Jim Harbaugh's going to be back. They're going to honor the 2012 team that made the Super Bowl and lost to the Baltimore Ravens, which is a first. I never knew that the 49ers honored teams that lost championships. That's a little strange to me, but hey, got to do what you got to do. People are going to be locked in on Mahomes. A lot of people are going to be at that game. It's a hot ticket. But Jim Harbaugh's going to be back. And as we're down on Kyle Shanahan, and look, nobody's on this show said, hey, fire Kyle Shanahan. No, we're not there. But we're allowed to be critical of the head coach.
Yeah, he's got to be better.
He's got to be a lot better. And, talks about him being better than Harbaugh as a head coach. Forget what Harbaugh did here.
Before you continue, the Shanahan thing is so odd to me. If you criticize Shanahan or Garoppolo even a little, you're a hater and you want them gone? No. We're saying you got to play better.
Well, the funny thing is yesterday, I was getting a lot of, and it's just everywhere. Shanahan doesn't have a starting quarterback. Shanahan doesn't have a starting quarterback. Well, part of the reason why he doesn't have a starting quarterback is his own fault. We told you about the game plan. We didn't like it. And not only that, you're not allowed to say, well, he's got his backup quarterback. Because as soon as Trey Lance got hurt, players and coaches were quick to run to Michael Silver and let him know how Jimmy Garoppolo gave him a better chance to win. And everybody said, well, you got a starting quarterback on the bench. So
there are a lot of backup quarterbacks right now playing in the league. Them's the breaks of being an NFL coach.
No doubt.
Part of your job is keeping guys healthy. Some things you can't control. I get that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when you are bottom of the league year after year after year in terms of health, you got to look in the mirror a little. Something you got to switch up. And then I would also counter with, right now there's a third-string quarterback in New England who no one's ever heard of in Bailey Zappi, who just threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and won a game. Western Kentucky.
Hey. All I know is
I never heard of the guy.
Nobody's laughing at Joe Judge and Matt Patricia now.
Well, I was.
Nobody's laughing now. Patriots are 3-3, and they're about to be 4-3 after beating the Bears on Monday Night Football. So nobody's laughing now.
but the point that I was going at is you can't tell me next man up and then create a bunch of excuses. The reality is that. Do I think that Kyle Shanahan is the greatest coach that ever lived? No. Do I think he needs to be fired yesterday? No. It's somewhere in between, depending on how well the team plays week to week. I think he's really good. Do I think he's great? I don't know. I just don't know yet. But I think he's done some really great things. I think there's some things that have been a little head-scratching. And so when we criticize what's going on, that is literally what we do in life. Unless you are minted like a Steve Kerr,
haters,
who has 4 championships and almost feels above reproach. And even then, we will criticize what is Kuminga, Draymond, and Wiseman doing on the floor together in game 1, right? We'll criticize that. But heaven forbid I critique the 2-minute drill for the 49ers with their coach who's been here for 6 years.
Well,
all I'm saying is it's okay to critique the coach a little.
Well, and it's not personal.
And we don't want to run him out of town.
It's not personal. Nobody's talking about firing Kyle Shanahan. Nobody's talking about firing him. I do find it ironic, though, on a week like this, that Harbaugh will be back in the building. Jim Harbaugh.
What did you think when you heard that?
I was shocked. I thought there was no way in heck Harbaugh would ever show his face around here ever again.
Does Michigan have the week off?
I guess they do have the week off.
Is that okay? That's
they
why?
have a bye week coming off of a win against Penn State.
He's out here recruiting.
I know he went to exactly. That's number one. That's kind of one thing I was like, okay, maybe he's going to see some high school players and get them up from the West Coast and bring them in to the Midwest. But 2, I just thought he wouldn't show his face in Levi's.
Well,
not with the way it ended, not with the way ownership and Harbaugh disagreed on things. It was nasty.
So, okay. On some level, I respect the York family for being able to realize a lot of time has passed. We weren't angels in it. I felt disrespected by Jim or whatever, but we do need to recognize the 44-19 record and the 3 straight NFC championship games and the level of dominance that this team showcased for many years when this team was dormant. I also need to appreciate that, Levi's probably doesn't get built if I don't have the success of what Harbaugh had in those first couple of years. So, on some level, I respect the Yorks for being able to mature over time. But on the same thing, it's hard for me to get past. You literally said, as you were bowing him out, we don't celebrate losing and NFC championship
We hang
banners.
Super Bowl banners.
I mean, that was part of what you said. And it was ridiculous then, and it's ridiculous 10 years later.
But not only that, you're celebrating a team that lost the Super Bowl. So you contradict yourself 10 years later.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I do believe that generation deserves to be acknowledged.
They do.
That's one of my favorite cores of all time. And that core meant something to me.
And, when I hear people say, Shanahan's the best coach we've had since Bill Walsh, I laugh. I say, how could you just bypass what Jim Harbaugh did as a head coach of the 49ers? I brought up Seifert. Hell, I bring up Mooch. Because there were some dark days. I would too, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying Mariucci over Shanahan.
I don't want to argue about that.
It's closer than what people think.
Yeah.
Because the Niners are in some dark days, and Mooch helped bring that thing back together. But when we go to Shanahan, and we think about what happened in the Atlanta game, all right, you take away the Carolina game, the Niners have scored 16 points in the second half. It's not good enough. But George Kittle said this after the game, which I did not realize until yesterday. Here's what George Kittle had to say after the loss to Atlanta.
We're the San Francisco 49ers. We have a standard that we play at. We play at a very high level, a lot of energy, 100% effort on every single play. And, I haven't watched the tape yet, but I don't know if we gave that today, at every single position. And, we had a lot of young guys play. We had some, like you said, we're missing a lot of guys. And we just got to make sure that we're playing at that level every single snap, or otherwise that's going to happen, especially when you are down guys. You can look at it as, we're down, how many ever, 7, 8 starters, or you can look at it as that's a lot of young guys with an opportunity to go out there and, make big plays and, get their names known. So we've dealt with it before. It's not easy, but, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. We have a very talented team. Our offense still has a lot of talented guys on it that can, get a lot of yak with the football. And, we got, I think, one of the best linebackers in football, Fred Warner, and our safeties are playing pretty well too. So, and the D-line's still good. So I just think we should have played better.
All right, here's what Shanahan had to say about that, because I want your reaction, because I'm a little surprised by both the answers. Here's what Shanahan had to say about Kittle's comments.
I would disagree with that. I mean, I like George saying that. That's, to me, how you feel, especially when a team kind of dominates the game in terms of how they ran the ball, with the amount of carries they got compared to us, the time of possession and stuff like that. But I didn't look at any of the guys lacking intensity or going after it. They just, that was a very physical team. That's how they played every single team they've played. That's why they've been in pretty much every game they've played. That's why they have had a number, they've been close to winning a number in a row. That's why they had a chance to come back versus Tampa on that. But I thought it came more down to the turnover that we had and not converting on those third downs that didn't allow us to, get into our physicality with running the ball.
So that was Shanahan responding to George Kittle's comments on Sunday. And I saw a text here on the YouTube. How ironic is it that they're celebrating a team that lost the Super Bowl against this team they lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago in the Kansas City Chiefs? Pretty funny, right? But Kittle, let's start there. Your thoughts on what George Kittle had to say after the loss of Atlanta?
I didn't like how he tried to throw the young guys under the bus there. Like, is Jimmy Garoppolo a young guy?
Nope.
Okay. Now, Jake Brandle's newer to the team, but he's been around the league for a minute, all right? Is Ayuk and Debo and George Kittle, are they young guys?
Nope.
Why can't any of them go, all right, let's go, guys. Come on. Let's go. Like, it's great that you're calling people out at a podium. How about do it on the field? Like, let's go. Let's do this. Come on. Little sense of urgency. We need to get the ball going down the field. We're down 2 touchdowns. Like, you're just going to, like, blanket. Oh, we got a lot of young guys, and, the young guys need to pick it up. And last I checked, there are a lot of veterans on that team. Now, are there some young linemen? Absolutely. Were there some hurt guys on defense, and so some younger players were playing? Absolutely. But the bigger takeaway, and this is, for me, it's been a constant theme of this core. It's not my fault. We'll be back. We're good.
Yeah.
They don't self-reflect very well. And I look at this team and I say to myself, and even Kyle Shanahan, well, I don't really agree with him there. No, I agree, because watch back that fourth quarter, 0 sense of urgency.
Yeah, but where does that come from?
Well, you're led by, again, I'm looking at, your coach has been here for a long time,
right? So
he's part of the pie, right? And then how about all the playmakers, like, for the most part? I didn't see a rookie Danny Gray out there.
No, I didn't.
I didn't see a rookie Jordan Mason out there.
Willie Snead was out there.
I didn't see Trey Lance trying to run a 10-minute drill. No, it was Jimmy Garoppolo, Ayuk, Kittle, Debo. These are guys that are battle-tested in the playoffs.
Right.
So, okay, you didn't have Trent. I get that. Jalen Moore's been on this team for a couple years.
Was it a shot at Shanahan?
Brunskill's been on this team a couple years.
Was it a shot at Shanahan? Because I find it hard to believe that they weren't ready to play, even though they gave up that opening drive. I get it. Atlanta comes right down the field, 7-0. But Niners were able to tie the football game up. How can you not be ready to play a game, though? I'm not asking George Kittle this. Is it an indictment on the head coach? Because they're at the Greenbrier all week. They didn't come back to the West Coast
they looked
for the Atlanta game.
Speaking of which, yeah, they're at the Greenbrier. Really helped them out when they started the game 14-0.
Right. I mean,
looked like you were. Thank God you spent the week riding ATVs.
Right.
Like it's a Hot Boys video, or the DMX Rough Riders video.
But they were out there at the Greenbrier. Or at the Greenbrier. Travel to Atlanta, quick flight from West Virginia. So Kittle said, hey, some of the young guys and pointing fingers and stuff like that, to me, that's not leadership. That's not leadership. The best leader on this team so far, it's been Trey Lance. Trey Lance takes accountability. Fred Warner takes accountability. You know what I'm saying? Those guys take accountability. Hufanga takes accountability. Some of these veterans and the way Debo acted in the offseason, then you got Jimmy Saga, now you got Kittle, who's in and out of the lineup. Something's amiss here. Something's going on in Santa Clara.
Well, there's no doubt that there is. And I think as we kind of reflect on Harbaugh, you know, one of the things that I've been thinking long and hard about, like when two people have a breakup, right? You know, one person might be like, I don't go out at all, right? That's that's your ex-girlfriend. I'm just using, this is a rough analogy here, but like two people getting a divorce or they break up or whatever, and the other girlfriend was like, I don't go out. We don't do a whole lot. What's the next girlfriend? You overcorrect with the next girlfriend, and it's like, yeah, we're going to go everywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you see this with Tom Brady. New England was rigid, and they had a regiment, and that's what they were going to do. And for 20 years, he did that. Then he broke up with Belichick, and he goes to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is the last place that I think of when I think of rigidity. Like, they are loose. We're going to fly by the seat of our pants.
Right.
Bruce Arians is not going to be all stuffy the way that Belichick is. He went in the complete opposite direction.
Yep.
They got off of Harbaugh, who was rigid. I would agree. Who was very rigid. And I felt like when they got to the same spot in the land, meaning they had some success, and then the contract was coming up, instead of playing hardball like they did with Harbaugh, they overcorrected and they said, we cannot. And I agreed with them in real time.
Right.
I'm going to give the extension now because I'm not going to make the same mistake that I made before.
Yep.
Right. And I look at it and I'm saying to myself, would this situation as a whole with the Niners be a lot different had they not handed out that extension to Kyle Shanahan?
I absolutely would have been.
I don't think they make the move to go get Trey Lance because I don't think you have the runway to develop that guy. So we can argue about that till we're blue in the face. But I'm looking here at just this core. Has it run its course? I think it's too premature. I think it's too premature. But I think we could all agree by year 4 of Harbaugh, it felt like at the end, okay, this core, it might have run its course.
But also the injuries
really
depleted that team in year number 4, and they ended up going 8-8. People forget they were 7-4 going into that Seattle game on Thanksgiving
Willis
night.
Didn't play.
Right.
Bowman didn't play the whole year because he had blown his knee out.
They were 7-4.
Yeah.
They were 7-4 in the hunt for a playoff spot.
Yes.
And they just ran out of bodies. And I thought it was one of Harbaugh's better coaching jobs with the 49ers. And they go out with a bang, winning that last game against Arizona to send them off 8-8. He had a great regular season record. But I wonder if there's any disconnect with Kyle Shanahan. And look, Shanahan's not going anywhere. Again, I want to reemphasize this to all the people out there who think we hate Shanahan. Don't hate Shanahan. I just went a lot for, this is what, in my mind,
yes,
this is what's happened. When he started winning, and he started drawing up these plays, and they say, oh boy, we got our next Bill Walsh. We got our next Bill Walsh. I'm saying, whoa. As much as we talk about the quarterback position being great in San Francisco, and you always say, man, the 49ers quarterback is a top 10 thing in sports in North America.
Yeah, it's one of the hallowed positions.
So is wide receiver here.
Agreed.
And so is head coach.
And wide receiver has left a lot to be desired.
Exactly.
For a long time.
As much as quarterback.
Yeah.
As much as quarterback. But so is the head coach.
I would agree
The
with
head
you.
coaching position in San Francisco is just a sneeze at that.
Well,
This is a premium. This is a great job. This is a great job. Even going back to Dick Nolan.
George
who led them
Seifert-
to 3 straight NFC championship games.
Yeah, we're going to start with Walsh, obviously, but like George Seifert, one of the highest winning percentages in the history
Ever.
of the game. Okay, and then you
He
look at
missed the playoffs
Harbaugh.
one time. Couldn't get over Green Bay. He got axed.
Yeah, and then you look at Harbaugh, 44-19.
Yep.
44-19. I don't think people remember how bad we were before that.
No doubt.
I mean, this was a team that didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have an identity.
No
they
doubt.
didn't know what they were on defense. I mean, they had gone through so many coaches. It was it was a lot.
Right.
So I guess where I'm going at with this, B, is that do I think that this core has run its course? No, I don't. Do I think they need to take a step forward and evolve a little? Absolutely, they do. And I do think that the way I look at this is that they need to execute better. And somehow they got to figure out this injury bug, because that's the thing that's truly derailing them. And you can say, Joe, everybody gets injured. That is true. But I'm looking at this data year after year after year. Something's amiss here. I'm paying so much money for all of these great players, and they're all hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And it feels like they can't overcome it.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. They can overcome it. But they also can help themselves by having a little more urgency. Nahegan and I, our program director, and Lucas Alexander, producer for Damon Ratto, watched that final drive back. 8 minutes, 42 seconds. They went 80 yards. And there was Noah Eagle, who was on a call alongside Stink, Mark Schlereth. We're like, whoa, they've gone 6 minutes and got to midfield. And it's like, how does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know.
How does that happen? Let's go to Leroy in Oakland. Leroy, you're on the Morning Roast here on 95.7 The Game. What's happening, Leroy?
Hey, what's happening, guys? Good morning. It is a pleasure to be on, as always. So I'm just going to start with the injury thing and something that I mentioned to my wife about 3 years ago. I said to her simply that Shanahan's style of play.
Uh-oh. We lost Leroy. Leroy, call us back.
Leroy, please call back.
Call us back.
Well, the injury thing's interesting because I've seen a lot of people start to look at stuff. There's data that suggests that they're one of the most injured teams in the league, not just during the Shanahan era, but even going back a little farther during the Chip and Tom Sula eras. They were very, very banged up. They were also a horrible team, so I'm curious how many of those like end of the season deactivations were like, hey.
Right.
You know,
Take a playoff.
Exactly.
We're not
Season's
even worried about
here.
it. Right.
But then the other thing is that they changed their training staff, and they hired an NHL trainer, a guy who hadn't been in the NFL.
Yeah, I saw this.
It's a little outside the box, and I don't think it's been working for them. I think the data would tell you, just the raw data, hey, guys are getting hurt at a higher clip than any other team. Whatever you're doing isn't working.
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing, and it's not working. But you had your core there. Again, Sunday I wanted to see, and I believe the Niners will be a playoff team. I do. All that has been said. Everybody said negative. Here's the positive. I believe the Niners will be in the playoffs. Another positive, they're tied for first place in the NFC West. Another positive, Brandon Ayuk looked like he's coming along, and he looks explosive. They're trying to get the ball to Debo. They got the ball to Kittle last week. But the one thing I wanted to see that is going to help them long-term or not help them long-term, and which could derail the season, can the offense win you a game? We know the defense can. The special teams did last year against Green Bay. Special teams won you a playoff game. But can the offense pick up the slack and win a shootout? Can they carry the day? And Sunday they didn't. And that's what they needed with all the defensive starters out, with Ward getting hurt in-game, with Drake Jackson getting hurt in-game, with Ebukam going down a couple times. The offense cannot pick up the slack. And that was disappointing. That was a disappointing loss. And all three losses, Denver, and now Denver has a good defense. I think we see that now. Denver's defense is legit.
Yeah, their problem is
they're
their
legit.
offense.
They got no offense.
Jerry Jeudy, I got him in fantasy. I told everybody, the guy drops everything.
Drops everything. Russell Wilson, nothing. He looks bad, right? Denver has a defense, though. All the talk about Denver's defense, their defense is legit. But you lose to the Bears, you lose to the Falcons on Sunday. And I'm just thinking, where's the offense? Whether it's Trey or Jimmy, where's the offense? Where's the creativity? Where's the pizzazz?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I get a little fatigued hearing this guy dropped the ball and this guy committed a penalty. Team-wide execution it's important. Newsflash, like when you throw for 300 yards, everyone's executing.
Yep.
And, it's not just an indictment on the quarterback. It's not just an indictment on the play caller. But at some point, like, the onus falls on all of them. Like, they got to pick it up here.
Yeah,
and I just think they're too talented on offense to score 14 points against an Atlanta Falcons team that's mediocre. We could argue about their defense being elite, and this. They're not. I mean, they're a mediocre team.
0 in the second half. Adam in the city. What's happening? You're on the Morning Roast here on 95.7 The Game. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. What you guys were just talking about in the sense of, something's got to change, whatever, but isn't that just kind of like the way, isn't that just been Shanahan's kind of philosophy and everything like the last 6 years? I don't get how, like, the strength and conditioning thing, the injuries happen, but I think it's just, and I think Baldy talked about it earlier this week, but it's the style of football they play, right? So, like, how do you change that? just what do you do? But before you answer that, just really quickly, too, I just wanted to give a shout out to Bonte. Had a chance to meet Loveman this past summer. Had a chance to meet Bonte last night.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Adam, you're the man. You're the man. It was good talking to you.
You're up next.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, no, he's a big time man. Adam's the guy, man. We had a lot of fun last night, man. I didn't leave chasing her. I was lingering around, man, until like 1
Does anyone
morning.
know me? Is that what you're doing?
No, that's what you do.
Damn.
That's what you do.
I did not do that.
If you go to Sideshow and download the Sideshow with Shasky, myself, and Lucas Alexander,
That
you'll
was-
see this Shasky.
That was one instance.
Please.
That was one instance of me being ridiculous because I was so anxiety filled. I had not eaten, so I was lightheaded.
Do you want to share that story?
No, it's
do you
on the
want-
Sideshow. Wherever you can find your Morning Roast podcast, you can go there. There's a story about me being ridiculous, and Bonte made fun of me the entire time. It's actually quite funny.
Well, it's quite funny, quite embarrassing.
Oh, it's absolutely embarrassing.
It's quite. It was. That's a Joe Shasky special.
Unlike the Niners on their offense, I can look in the mirror and self-reflect. I have a hard time doing such. But again, this is where when you continue to commit the same penalties, right? Specific penalties, when you continue to have self-inflicted wounds in certain situations where you're not pass blocking properly, even though I think the pass blocking has been quite good, when you're dropping balls, like we could talk about, the play was there and it made me play. Okay, but you didn't make the play. So I don't know what people want here. Like, I'm watching around the league, and other third, fourth, fifth string type players are making plays down the field.
No doubt.
And the Niners aren't. So I don't know what to say.
Let me ask you this. Does Shanahan need to give up play calling duties?
No, because that's why I hired him. Like, to me, this is one of the issues, and again, I know we've talked a lot about Robert Saleh, but like one of the things that I always look at, like, you see a guy gets his first head coaching job, and he was hired because he does the play calling on either side of the ball. And then what's the one thing that they give up? The thing that they were great at that got them the job.
Well, Mike Holmgren talked about it. He goes, I wanted to call the plays. I wanted to do it.
No, I don't think that Shanahan should give up the play calling duties because that is his bread and butter. And then now what's he doing?
Well, I remember the script on Sunday against Atlanta. The first play they run after giving up the opening drive touchdown, they run a toss left to Jeff Wilson Jr. The second play, they run the same exact play to the right side. I was like, man, that's part of the script? That's part of the script? Like, way to set the tone offensively.
Well, I do not think, when we do this whole script thing, this conversation, I do not think it's like, these are the 17 plays that I'm going to run no matter where we are down in distance. It's an idea of which direction you're going to go, and you've got some variation based on down and distance and what pops. I don't think you're just literally, the first play is this one, the second play is that one, and the third play, I don't think it's that way. I think they found something, and they're like, we'll just keep going with these.
So here, I have more positives for 49er fans.
What's that?
More positives. Trent Williams may play on Sunday.
Okay. That makes you feel good.
Nick Bosa may play on Sunday.
Can Trent Williams play up the middle and block Chris Jones?
Well, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. But I'm trying to keep it positive. You see, you went to a negative. Nick Bosa.
I just diagnosed a matchup. That's all I did.
Chris Jones is a problem.
He's a monster. He's a great
problem.
player,
But you know,
and I worry about him up the middle.
Banks has been good this year. Give Banks his flowers.
Yeah,
Aaron
he has
Banks.
been very good.
Banks has been solid. Burford, I haven't heard his name.
No,
Brendo in the middle.
For a rookie, I think Burford's been really, really good. It's been a great find.
But, Bosa's going to be back.
Is he?
I hope so. We'll hear from Shanahan in practice. Hopefully he can
Well,
get on the
I do
practice
think
field.
that there's a correlation between, like, everyone, the Jimmy and his winning record. I do think that there is a direct correlation to this team and Bosa playing. I do think that's a tangible thing. If you're going to attribute winner sprinkled magic on Jimmy Garoppolo, you should do the same then for Nick Bosa.
Yeah, we should do it around the league, too.
No doubt.
Doing it around the league.
I mean,
but it's just ironic how I don't even want to get into that.
I mean, take
conversation.
Stephon Diggs off of Buffalo and tell me how good. And I still think they're a good team, but they're not as
great.
elite as what they are.
They're not great.
I mean, you look at the evolutionary steps forward that Josh Allen's taken that everyone's talking about. There's a direct correlation to him adding Stephon Diggs and his confidence soaring.
With all that said, I still believe the Niners have a great shot to beat the Chiefs.
You do?
Yes.
Why?
If they're healthy, they have the formula to beat the Chiefs. You can be physical. You can run the clock. You can play that ball control type of offense. And I don't think their defense is all that. I do not think their defense is all that. They had 2 rookie corners last week. Are they going to have 2 rookie corners this Sunday? Because if they do have 2 rookie corners, Shanahan, go at him. I have Ayuk. I have Debo. Let's mix in some Danny Gray. you should be able to cook. You should be able to cook. And George Kittle down the seam. So if healthy, which is laughable around these parts, I get it because of all the injuries, but I actually think the Niners match up really well on Sunday, and that's how wacky the NFL has been. That's how wacky it's been. Now,
So
do I concern myself?
diagnosis is that the NFL is wacky?
No. That's not my diagnosis. No, my diagnosis is the Niners have the personnel to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They really have a good roster. And if Bosa's playing and Trent Williams is playing, you protect Jimmy Garoppolo, yards are going to be out there on the field. Can you score touchdowns against Kansas City? That's one thing. Chiefs coming off a loss is going to be a problem with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I get it. I do. But if this defense has Bosa humming and this defensive line is coming, Mahomes can be hurried into mistakes. We saw it last week against Buffalo, and I think that could be the case this week. And the explosiveness of Kansas City is just quite not there without Tyreek Hill.
Well,
a little more horizontal and short passing yards instead of going deep down the field like they did with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I just worry about them stretching us out. If Mooney Ward can't play and you don't have Jimmy Ward, now you got Gibson out there who think is going to have a lot of ground to cover. You know that they love the 3 wide receiver sets. I think the Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Kelsey are tough matchups for us. Edwards-Helaire on the edges, getting the ball in the passing game. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's a great runner between the tackles, but as a pass catcher, he's dynamic. Yeah. And then I look at Kelsey. No one seems to have the recipe to stop Kelsey.
No doubt.
And offensively, if you told me the Niners scored 28 points, I'd be like, okay, how?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, explain to me how they're going to score 28 points.
That's why I hired Kyle Shanahan, right? That's why I hired Kyle Shanahan. 1 top 10 offense since he's been here.
Yeah, but the guys also have to make plays, and so I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, 1 top 10 offense since he's been here. How much is on the players? How much is on the coach? We will never know. We will never know. But I'm trying to keep it positive, though.
Of those years, how many years should they have had a top 10 offense?
2020. Okay. 2019.
Okay.
2018. It doesn't stop Andy Reid.
2020 was Ayuk's rookie year.
2020 was Ayuk's rookie
and
year.
he missed a couple of games early on with the hamstring. But 2021, I'll listen to. 2020, they were top 10 in 2019. Second best scoring team.
Yep.
2019.
29.9.
That's why
the 1 year they were top 10 points per game.
Man. Okay.